we're cleaning the Burr chamber and chute of a Mahlkönig Peak grinder. The tools that you're going to need to do this are a screwdriver, small pliers, a pick, a brush, and a shop vac. The first thing you're going to want to do is unplug the grinder and turn it off, and then we'll remove the hopper. If you still have coffee left in the hopper, then you're going to want to close the bean beat and grind through any coffee that's left in the Burr chamber, and then we can start. Next, we're going to remove the hopper gasket and set it aside. Then we can loosen the grind adjustment knob and turn the grind adjustment completely to coarse. Then you take your screwdriver. There's a screw on the left-hand side of the lid that we'll need to remove. After you remove this screw, you should be able to turn the lid slightly coarser and then lift straight up to remove the lid. If you're doing this cleaning as a preventative cleaning, all we'll need to do is to remove the lid of the chute. And you can do that with a small pliers. It just snaps on and off. So once this is removed, you can see inside the chute and take your brush and sweep things out. If there's any residue that's stuck on there, you can get a rag down there and clean that off as well. Just get it nice and clean. And then we can take this chute and it slides in underneath the lip of the Burr chamber housing. So you slide it under there and snap it into place. And you should be able to move it around. It should be pretty snug on top of there. If you're having clogging issues, and it could be even as extreme as you're not even able to run the grinder, then we're going to need to lift off this upper Burr carrier. So we'll need to remove these two screws here, holding that in place. Once you remove those two screws, this whole assembly lifts right off, and you can see the upper Burr and also the rotating Burr inside the Burr chamber. We want to make sure not to rotate this upper Burr at all. If you turn it one way or another, it's going to change the position of the Burr. It's going to change your grind adjustment range, so just keep that in the same position. Also, as you can see on this assembly, it's marked with a Sharpie on the front, and you're going to want to just remember when you put that back to leave that in the front rather than flipping it 180 degrees. So now's the time when you can take your brush or your pick or whatever works best for you and just dislodge any coffee that's stuck in there. Just loosen it up, and you can take your shop vac and sweep it out. Just get it really nice and clean in there. And then once you do that, you can also just make sure that the rotating Burr is rotating freely and it doesn't feel like it's stuck in place. Once it feels like it's rotating freely, you can put this upper Burr back in place with the Sharpie forward towards the chute. We'll take our screws and just start the threads by hand. Be careful not to cross thread these screws. And then you can tighten them up with a screwdriver. They don't have to be cranked down, but just get them nice and snug. And now we'll be able to put the lid back on. As you can see on the upper Burr carrier, there's two posts and there's two rubber grommets on the lid that those posts lock into. So to put this all back together, this has to be in the right position to lock into these posts. And if you did change the position of this upper Burr carrier, it should lock in right where it needs to. Also on the lid, you'll see there's 3 screws, and there's 3 grooves on the body of the grinder that these 3 screws need to lock into. To make it easy, you want to make sure that the grind adjustment indicator, this little lever here, if that were at number 12, if the numbers kept going, then that's the place where it's going to lock in. So you should be able to set it in place pretty easily. You can just wiggle it a little bit so that it falls down in place. If it feels like you have to force it down, then something's probably not aligned, and you'll need to just change where these posts are slightly. Also, on the top of the lid, you can see that there's 2 slots, and the posts actually line up with those slots as well. So as you're putting it on, you can kind of look down through the lid and see where the posts are, line it up with the slots, and wiggle it in. Then you can return the grind setting to the normal range and get your screw that was inside the grinder, put that back in. Put your hopper gasket back in. It's good to real quick just check if you have full range of motion across the grind range. And if you do, then you should be able to take the grinder back to your initial grind setting and lock down the grind adjustment knob. Then put your hopper back on. And you should be good to go.